Good evening, everyone. I figured one of the videos that I mentioned, and I got talking with some shareholders on this Help Pause website to help furries better sell in some way, shape, or form, is job interview strategies and questions. Over the years, I've done a lot of interviews myself, and holy moly, the anxiety, everything came under the sun. But I'm going to go through a list of different types of questions that an employer would usually ask and kind of like try to coach like what would be a really good answer as opposed to maybe even not such a good answer. First things that's most important. I know we love our phones. Big thing in a job interview. Put that away. Most times out of 10, if you walk in, the first thing an employer sees that could be your potential boss is you doing this. Mm-mm. This is between you, them. They might think you're trying to cheat. So they want to see the real you. Not that, but they want to see you. So that's the first suggestion. Also, come in early, well groomed, suit, all that stuff. Even if it's for a job interview at like Burger King. No harm, no shame in dressing for success. Be well rested. Just be prepared. They want to hear the real you, and it's okay to be nervous. So here are some questions that are most commonly asked. Question one: Tell me about yourself. So a good example. They just want to get to know you. They want to know about you. My name is so and so. I'm originally from here. I've been working in so and so field for so long, and I'm a really hard worker. This is your time to brag. Talk about yourself and what do you have to offer that no other employer can possibly compete with, and or other candidate can compete with. All right. Question number two. Why are you leaving your current employer? The best thing is honesty is really important. Why are you leaving your current employer? Don't say something like, "Oh, my job sucks." No, because how is that going to convince your future boss that you're not going to think this job's going to suck? Come with something more coherent, more like in the field of, well, I was just looking on for new horizons. I want to take my skills, knowledge, and abilities to the next level. Maybe even simply, maybe I want to make more money. They want honesty and integrity and straight up answers rather than if you do an elongated speech, you might lose interest, you might, babble too much, and sometimes that can be a turnoff for your potential employer. Question number three. How do you handle stress? Sometimes it's good to be honest, but do your best, but be open and honest. Use like a scenario that you mentioned, like a type of stressful situation and how you handled it. For instance, me and this coworker, we had a disagreement about how to apply this new adhesive to this part in the factory. But instead of focusing on the disagreements we had, we came together on an agreement in order to get the product put together quickly, more efficiently, and thusly, so turn it into a positive, even if it's something that's potentially negative. Question number four. Do you have any questions? This is your time to ask any questions. If you really want to get to know your boss, your future boss, ask something about them. The interview's been mostly been focused on you. Ask them. How did they get into this position? What do they know? How have they been working in the company? Because it's going to come into play later on in your interview process and or job is that you want to get to know your boss. You want to break the ice, get to know them well, show that you have interest in them as well as the company. And right there, 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, oh, well, I started in this and this. They could have worked their way from the ground up, and they can see you as a potential that's going to work your way from the ground up. Another question. What interests you about this role? So what you could say is be open and honest. Do some research. If you've done some research, tell them that this Burger King is the greatest place. There's a lot of job potential, and I can start at the line and work my way up. Have motivation to move up. Not to say I'm here to take your job, but you really want to show this place what you have to offer that these other candidates do not have to offer. Another question, what makes you unique? You can say, I'm a hard worker, I'm detail oriented, I like to look good, I show up, I do my job to the best of my ability. I don't know all the answers, but I will always do my best to either get you the answer or find some. They want you to show commitment and overall belief in supporting the mission of that particular place. How do others describe you? That's question number 7. Yes, be open and honest. Usually the best way is to focus on positives. Sometimes, you don't right away go and say, "Oh, my friend thinks I'm lazy" or whatever. No, no, no. And because if you have resources on your resume, they're going to check with those resources and to verify if you're really being open and honest and telling them the truth. Because you say, "I'm a hard worker, this, that," and your former supervisor said no, did not show up to work on time. He always looked dirty and always was like inappropriate and all that. Then that literally just made you a liar. Likely you're not going to get the position. Another question could be, are you applying for other jobs? You could say yes, you can say no, but it's always good to be open and honest and say yes. I do have other positions. So right there, that's kind of putting the ball in their court saying, oh man, if they really like you and they want to hire you, man, we better offer this guy something that these other companies just cannot provide because it's literally you're selling yourself. You're like a car salesman. You're selling yourself as a car to this potential employer. Another question, why do you want this job? Is sometimes they'll ask. This is your time to talk about how badly you want this position because I want to show this a good example. I want to show this company what I can do. I'm a hard worker, I'm dedicated, and I want to show you guys that I was the best candidate that all these other candidates because you want to sell yourself because you might be competing with others with similar education, similar experience. What makes you the one that they will hire over all these other guys? Like, for example, I talked about all my volunteering outside of my work. So that literally tells your employer that you're a go-getter. You just do you don't just do your job, come in, that's it. You volunteer, you're going to school, you got a lot of things and a lot of potential in you. And that means you're able to multitask. And that's what employers like. Your future boss wants a person that can do more than one thing at once and still hold their cool and work. Another question, what are your strengths? That's where you talk about your strengths. I'm easygoing, for example. I get along well with others. I'm a hard worker. I show up to work on time, ready to go. And if I need to come in early or need to stay late to get the job done, I will do it. They like to hear that because that tells you that you are dedicated to that job and you will take it as seriously. And it doesn't matter what position. You can be someone working in, custodial, all the way up to vice president CEOs. They will like energy, have energy, lots of energy. Even if it's a job you do not like, put energy into it and make it sound like it is your dream job because that employer, the energy, bring out your energy and positive energy, and they will catch on and be like, you know what? I want this guy even over these other qualified candidates because this guy has something that those others do not. Another question, what are your salary expectations? You got to be realistic. If you're coming in for entry level position, don't say, yeah, I want the top tier CEO salary. That's, but you could put it in a positive light and say, I want to eventually work my way up to that, but I'm willing to work and I'm dedicated, determined, and I want to one day possibly be owner of the company. That tells them that you have potential, you have nerve, you have the gonads, everything. What are your salary or oh, another question? What are your goals? Have a 1 year goal, a 5 year goal, a 10-year goal. For example, I stated in my first job when I started working for the government, in about 5 years, I want to have my education done. I want to have my, certifications done, and I want to move up to like therapist level. What are your goals 10 years from now? Well, if things work out and I work in my grad school and I get more experience and education, I'm hoping to eventually be a supervisor or director at some point. That literally paints out you have a plan and you're goal oriented, and that's what employers seeking. They want someone that's just like, yeah, well, I'm just going to come in, whatever. No, no, no. They want a motivated individual to tell them that the day comes that, let's say they retire and you've been there a few years and you've got that same energy that you brought to that interview. You never know. You could become that next CEO or owner or manager. What motivates you? That's another question. What motivates you? Uh, Answers like hard work, doing things right, having, and making sure that owning up to your mistakes and expecting that, because if they know you're coming in and you are going to be the best that you can be, but accept the fact, don't be too arrogant, be open to criticisms, ideas, and being able to work with others. And that's what motivates you. And teamwork, 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 teamwork. Teamwork is one of the most important things that employers really seek, because a lot of places, and teamwork is very important in being able to work with others. What are your weaknesses? That is another common question. Be open and honest. Um, don't say like too many negative weaknesses, because they may see those as weaknesses that might harden the company. Say things like, even positive light, like, well, I might be a little bit of a perfectionist, but you know what? That's a positive, because if they want things done right the first time and every time in consistency, what's wrong with being a perfectionist? What's wrong with being, or even weaknesses? Like, even in my interviews, I answered with, I can't remember names. And to be honest, still to this day, patience, core, everything. I'm like, I'm not the greatest with names. That's not like a big deal. You might not remember names, but darn it, you're going to try and you're going to do the best you can to learn the names as well as your job, because that can tell them that you're going to learn your job, and names come in part of it, but it's good to even learn names, nicknames, all that good stuff, because that tells you you're a very social person and you want to be the best worker as well as a good coworker and work your hardest. Let's see. Let's see. One of the last ones that usually in the interview questions, what is your greatest accomplishment? Whatever it is, no matter how big or small, talk about your greatest accomplishment. Say your degree, your experience in your previous job, even something like volunteering, saving a person's life, or accomplishment, or something that shows you, as well as that employer, that you know what, maybe hiring you is going to be their greatest accomplishment, because you talked about all this work, all this hard work you've done over the years, and they can picture it, and hence the energy. Bring that energy to the interview. This is your time to shine. Like I mentioned earlier, make yourself look better than any other candidates, because sometimes there's going to be a point where it's going to be you versus 10, 20, 30 bunch of employee potentials that will have this same. Some might even have more education, more experience, but you have that one thing, that strength, that weakness, that uniqueness. Even if you're not that close to caliber of other potential candidates, they will see something in you, and they want to see more from you. And last but not least, the most important thing from a job interview at the end, thank them for their time, and also thank them so much for taking time out of the day. Be grateful, be gracious before and after the interview. Handshake, eye contact, all that good stuff. And then after the interview, don't forget, do a follow up, do emails, keep thanking them, because that tells them that you're very grateful, and that same kind of gratefulness is going to carry into your job quality and your work quality as well as your attitude. And that, I tell you what, if you do that, they might call you back and say, you know what? You might not have the same calls, you might not have the same education experience, but there is that one of these questions you answered and you hit the golden spike. Welcome aboard. So those are some of my biggest suggestions about the kind of questions you get at a job interview and the best kind of answers that you can convolute. But I'm not an expert. And if you need ideas, watch videos, look up YouTube interview strategies, all sorts of options out there, folks. And I guarantee you, you may not get this job, but you will probably get that job or that job. But this is the likeliest scenario that you would be hired by someone like me or your other future employer. Good luck. Welcome aboard.